how do you compare these funds? What are the competitive advantages of one fund against another? So we've got an amazing lineup that Jeff is going to moderate today. We have Accel partners, we have Index, and we have Aleph. 3 funds that are pretty innovative, pretty big, and are fairly active in Europe. So it's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you Luciana from Accel, Martin from Index, and Eden from Aleph. Come on in.
Hi. Oh, seats are assigned. Okay.
Yes. I'm here next to you. It's good.
Very organized. Thank you.
They don't trust us to choose chairs.
Exactly.
I guess I'll take the one in the middle that says my name. Okay. Jeff, you did a great job warming this up for us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well done, Jeff. Thank you. Okay, well, hey, we are thrilled to be here with everybody today. It's kind of hard to see you, but I would love to, before we get this started, just by a show of hands, how many entrepreneurs in the room? If we can see you. Now we can see you. Great. How many investors in the room?
Wow.
Okay. All right. More entrepreneurs. That's great. So today we're going to talk about the mythical competitive advantage within VC. And you're going to hear from 4 very established investors on this topic. So let's just first really quickly go across, give maybe a 30 to 60 second intro of you, what you do, maybe something off balance sheet that people don't know about you. Ready, set, go. Why don't we start over here, Eden?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Martin. I've been working with Index for almost 7 years now. Based in London, but covering France, UK, Benelux, and investing mainly in marketplace, SaaS, API-based businesses, mobile. At Index, we have 2 active funds today, which we raised earlier this year. One early stage, one growth stage. Together, it's about 1.2 billion US. And we invest about half in the US and half in Europe across a wide range of sectors.
Okay, thanks. Luciana.
Hi, my name is Luciana. I'm an investor with Accel out of our London office. We're a global venture capital fund. We have our roots in Silicon Valley. Started there about 32 years ago. We've been in Europe and investing in Europe for about 16 years, and we also have funds and offices in India, so very much a global platform. We invest anywhere from early stage seed deals up to growth. Anything in soft technologies. Personally, I spend time both with consumer businesses and software businesses. Our funds in Europe are $500 million. In the US, they're $2 billion, and India, 300. So decent dry powder. Very excited to fund as many of you as possible.
Excellent. Eden.
I guess I'll start with the fact not known. So I'm originally from something called kibbutz, which it was the last socialistic experiment, I guess. It proved that you can share everything as long as you have nothing. So not very capitalistic. I'm part of a fund called Aleph. I moved over to a dark side about 6 years ago from building companies. And I think something that's unique about Aleph, it's a $330 million fund, mostly focused on Israel-related ventures. Something that is uncommon is it's an equal partnership and a partner-only firm. Much like Benchmark, which US side. So it's a very different kind of a fund in how it operates.
Great.
And I guess you've heard me for 15 minutes, so I'll just mention the thing that wasn't known is that I wanted to be a chef, but my grades in math and physics were way too good, so they said no, and I couldn't. So I ended up being a VC.
I'm still waiting for that invitation for dinner. Come on, Jeff. Okay, so let's, this question is for everybody on this panel. I'd like you to all each talk through a little bit about what you think makes your investing platform unique. What are you doing that is different? What do the entrepreneurs in the room know about your firm and you specifically that makes you different or unique as an investor? Maybe we'll start here and go back around.
Sure. So I think it's a mix of things. One is the fact that we were one of the very first micro VCs in the Valley, and I was one of the very first like Web 2.0 investor. So we have the longevity, we have the track record, we have the reputation of really sort of going deep to help our company. So we're very focused on doing only a handful of deals per partner per year. We can sit on boards, we'll sort of lead deals, because unfortunately for entrepreneurs, there's always a bunch of people who are very excited to invest in you once you found a lead. But finding the lead is really sort of the challenge, and we have no problem being there and stepping up to do that. And I think entrepreneurs often come to us saying, I have a ton of interest, but no lead, so please help us.
So I mentioned the equal partnership, and I think it's interesting because the dynamics in many partnerships is something that is not often talked about. And many of the partnerships descend into a kind of a political organization because most of them are unanimous-based voting vehicles. So in order for your deal to pass, all partners will need to vote for the deal. And generally that turns into pass this deal for me, I'll pass the other deal for you, and it becomes fairly political. The interesting thing about an equal partnership, if you structure it right, is it's non-consensus. So in Aleph, you vote 1 to 10, you can't vote to 5, and if the deal is above 5, it passes. So for example, if in a case of two partners, then if I vote 1 and the other partner votes a 10, the deal goes through. Right? And so it allows us to take a lot of non-consensus type deals and on the one side, and on the other is there is an ownership. Someone sits on the board, but everyone has the same economics, which means that everyone is stepping up to help a founder once we invested, regardless of who led the deal. So there's no kind of, for the founders in the crowd, there's no, hey, you have 55%, so you'll be staying up at 8 p.m. and I won't be.
It's very interesting. I'll just follow up on that before I go to the differentiation points. But it's very interesting because it's actually quite similar for us in that if the person who wants to write the check really wants to write the check, of course we take feedback from all our colleagues and we value this feedback, but they have the power to do that. There is no voting system per se. So very interesting that you mentioned that as a differentiation point. It's very similar for us. In terms of, okay, what helps us stand out or be different, be special, I don't know. Unique. Well, I think I mentioned when I first started, the reason why we go into the office every morning is because we want to find the best entrepreneurs from everywhere. So we're very much a global platform. We want to find the best entrepreneurs in the US, want to find the best entrepreneurs in India, the best entrepreneurs in Romania, maybe. I haven't found them yet, but I'm sure they're there. Exactly. So that's one angle that's very important to us, and it's very much part of our DNA at Accel. The other one I would say, we're quite hands-on. Obviously, many VCs have board seats, and there are a lot of great board members, but what I can say is that I look at my partners around me and they'll be on the phone with their founders, before dinner, after dinner, before breakfast, any time of the day, very accessible. And I think that's really important because it shouldn't be a big deal to communicate to your board members. You should have access to them. You should be able to, it should be a sounding board at the end of the day. So I really like that. Yeah, those are just a couple of angles that we emphasize a lot.
Great.
Yeah, so I mean, to go back on the voting side, we actually do have a vote. We've been having it for about 3 years. It's actually a qualified majority, so even a slightly complex vote. Although a partner can still push for a deal if you really, really believe and pounds the table. And one of the main reasons is that when we have about 8, 9 partners, and you have different personality around the table, and you have people who are always extremely convinced about what they do and have huge, sometimes ego and personalities and big voice.
Another partnership.
And some people are more, some people are more, downplaying things, a bit more casual, especially when you have different nationalities and different personalities. And so you end up having, if you don't actually vote, it's hard to kind of really figure out what people really believe about it is. So we've been very, very happy with that new system. On the differentiation part, I'd say one of our we've got I think 2 main characteristics. The first one is that we can help entrepreneurs across the life cycle of the company. So we can write a $500K check all the way to a $50, $60, $70 million check. And we've done that on some occasions in companies which we've been helping from the get-go to go to, hopefully to IPO or to exit. Companies like Deliveroo, where we invested with Accel, who actually came in on the first round with a kind of $2 million check, and then we wrote every check until Series D. So not the only investor, obviously. We brought in Accel and a few other guys along, but we were significant anchor investors for a large part of the story. And I think that's super helpful when you kind of need to raise a lot of money and to have someone that can help you syndicate your deal quickly and contribute to the deal. And the other thing is that we are a Europe and US fund, but it's one fund. So that's the difference with Accel, for example, where we actually sit down together at deal flow meeting and partner meeting with the video conference with the guys in SF and us in London, and we look at every deal and every investment opportunity together, which also means that we are everyone is very. And we share the carry, it's an equal partnership as well. But everyone there's a huge buy-in across both sides of the Atlantic when those companies need help to go to the US, or on the other hand, come back to Europe, or go to Europe when there are American companies. So I think that those are the two differences. So if you really want to internationalize from the get-go, I think we got we're one of the only fund with a cross-Atlantic team looking at everything together.
Excellent, thank you. So, Eden, you started something off, and now we'll just kind of open this up to all the four of you if you want to comment on it. But this concept of non-consensus and this thinking that the deals that you're looking at don't have to be, everybody has to say yes. Maybe only one person has to say yes. And really what that gets to is this idea around conviction. And so as a founder sitting in the room, meeting with investors, they're thinking, I want somebody I want my investor to fight for me. I want them to have conviction around what it is that I'm doing. Maybe you can talk and then open it up to the rest of you. How do you feel, what kind of role does conviction play in your differentiation for a founder taking your money versus the next person's money? Anybody else is on this stage?
So I'll actually use a story for that. So Aleph is a very young fund, right? It's 3 years old, 3 years young. It's still a startup in many ways. And one of the second deal that we looked at is a company that now I guess many people are familiar with, WeWork. It was a strange deal. It was we just told LPs that we're doing deals. We're focused on A rounds, and that's the sweet spot. And it was $1 billion valuation deal that Michael was leading, and I was head scratching at that point. I was trying to figure out, okay, so you truly believe this is a 10x opportunity? So let's figure this out. Let's look at the numbers. And Michael's in the US, I'm in Israel. It's the biggest day in the year for me because I run a conference called GeekCon, and we were on the phone for 8 hours straight. 8 hours straight, just trying to figure out. I'm telling him, listen, this is a 3x for sure, but I just don't see how it gets to $10 billion in valuation. I just don't see it. And not only did we go through the numbers, not only did we get the trust between us, but we were fortunate enough to place the head of product in WeWork before. Right? So I call him up. I try to figure out, what's going on. And we started going through the We Live vision, and I kind of soften. And then we go on another call for 2 hours, and Michael is absolutely convinced. And he's saying, listen, this is too new of a partnership. I'm not going to activate the fact that if I'm convinced enough, we'll do the deal. But we should do the deal. So he was absolutely convinced. I was wrong on 2 counts. I was convinced because of We Live, but We Live is just 2 buildings now. So unrelated. And I think it's leaked numbers now, so we can talk about that. It's at more than $500 million of revenue, right? So conviction plays a significant role, and sometimes it just ensures and shows you that other competitors and other startups will, because it's not consensus, are not likely to compete with you, neither with a company or with you as an investor. So it's a feature, not a bug.
Feature, not a bug. Other thoughts?
Well, the way I think about it is, at the end of the day, we make money from outliers. And it's just very difficult. If you put 10 people in a room, they're not all going to identify the outliers as Series A, where we hope to get into an investment. I mean, we invest later stage as well, but ideally that's when we'd get in. So if you're looking at a private equity investment, or if you're looking even at a growth investment, you can do your analysis, and you can reason with people and explain why this is going to be a 3x or a 4x. If you look at an early stage company and say this is going to be $1 billion plus, it's hard to draw a straight line. So, for example, when we did the quote-unquote seed in Supercell, which was an 8 million euro seed before they had a game, I don't think that was a straightforward decision at all. I think in any partnership, if you needed a consensus, it might not have happened, because there might have been one partner who would have said, hey, it's crazy to put 8 million euros in a company pre-product, no matter how good the team is. We invested in Slack when it was a video gaming company. Probably also not straightforward. So I think because in venture capital you make money from outliers, this model works quite well.
I think those are examples where you just follow the founders, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Stuart has always wanted to build a gaming studio, and he failed the first time, and then he did Flickr, and he failed again, and he did Slack. So maybe the third company will be a successful studio.
Absolutely.
I think the point on conviction is essentially saying, look, I'm willing to put my reputation behind this deal, but I need the firm to essentially agree with me. And at Softex, there's 3 partners, and we could have a vote, but basically we'll have to say yes. But it can be sort of a big yes or a small yes. And everyone has the sort of no fucking way card, which is a bit like, the nuclear arsenal. You have it because you don't want to use it, but just in case. And it's really sort of a case of, look, if I really hate this deal and I really disagree with you, I'll kill it. And anyone can do it because we're all partners. But at the same time, if you're here around this table, it's because you deserve to be here. And if ever you really believe that deal that I really don't like, I had the case with my partner, Andy, former co-founder of Huddle, joined us a year and a half ago, and he loved this deal that had a, so it's actually funny, it's a company which has a back end here in Madrid and the front end in the Valley, healthcare based, and we really sort of didn't get it, but he convinced it and he got away with it, and now we're all behind it. So everything you do shouldn't be obvious, because if it's obvious to everyone, then there might actually be something very wrong.
Do you have a sign with a small s, yes, and a sign with a big yes?
No, but you see how excited people are. And,
of course.
You can see the, okay, I'll do it.
Fine.
Or the, yes.
Yeah,
well, the beauty with voting is that, in a few years' time, I will be in a position to tell you what's the best, hopefully, what's the best approach. Because I can look at the data and see how people voted and look at the performance of the companies. We've only been doing it for a few years, and as you know, in VC, it takes a long time to figure out the returns. And it may be that what happened in the past won't happen again in the future, and also results can be so skewed by one winner that maybe it's probably not going to be very significant. But at least with the voting, we'll try to. So next time I'm on this panel, I'll try to come up with a good answer of what's the best approach.
I hope the
conviction of our consensus.
Excellent. I hope the organizers heard that. So, entrepreneurs, you want to find an investor that has conviction around your deal, regardless of their structure within their firm. You want to find an investor that has conviction around your deal, and your job is to convince them of that. Quickly, I'm curious for each of you, we talked about your firm dynamics, and we've talked about maybe what sets your firm apart, but investing is a hand-to-hand combat game. Helping entrepreneurs, as you were saying, Luciana, it is being accessible to the founders. That's one-on-one, that's personal relationships. What, for each of you, what sets you apart, or what is for the title of the panel, your competitive advantage, what sets you apart as a person? Why do founders want to take your capital specifically, independent of what your firm brings?
The promise of no bullshit.
Okay.
Because essentially that's what they get from us, and then it's not always pretty. And as one of our founders just posted a piece on TechCrunch a couple of days ago about her seed and her Series A. Company's called Shippo, seed and Series A sort of decks. So what she actually used to raise money from us, we led the seed round, and then from Albert Wenger at Union Square. And she tweeted, thanks for the support, and parenthesis, tough love. And that's really sort of what we give them, because we're there to support them, to help them, to sometimes be the shoulder on which they can cry, but we're also tough, and we're there to help them make hard decisions, and sometimes sort of push them as well. If sometimes someone comes to us and says, I've beaten the plan 4 or 5 months in a row, I say, well, then let's change the plan. as opposed to saying, hey, let's continue building the plan. Because at the end of the day, only the very best companies will be able to grow sustainably, 3, 4, 5x per year for a number of years. So we try and really sort of push them hard and never ever run from tough discussions and tough decisions.
So interestingly, I think it's a service business, right? So many VCs, like old school VCs, were born under the premise that the LPs are the customers. Well, I think it's very clearly that the entrepreneurs are the customers, and then the LPs will benefit because entrepreneurs are well served. And one of the big challenges there is if you look at the kind of relationship between entrepreneurs and the VCs, is what does it mean, good service, right? So, and many times, as an entrepreneur, I hated getting an email from a board member saying, having a URL and the word thoughts, ? It's like, fuck you. If you read this, how about you include your opinion and your analysis of it? And if you haven't, are you just outsourcing the reading to me? So much of what we do, we're very software driven, and we measure basically everything, and we track about 30,000 entrepreneurs because Israel is a small ecosystem, but we also track our bullshit ratio, right? So what's our signal to noise ratio, and were we helpful, and have we done 10 intros out of which 9 were a total flake? So that was a waste of time for the founder. So we actually measure the signal to noise ratio, and for me, that's a big success if the things I do for the entrepreneurs are actually providing them with value.
How do you measure that? I'm curious.
So we categorized a few things. I actually published end of 2015 a summary of the kind of service that we provide and the KPIs that we measure. Cool. Anywhere from follow-up funding, how many of the intros for the follow-up funding did we make, how many individual contributors did we find, how many executives have we found. Israel is really bad about messaging and press, so how many media presence entries have we provided for them through our intros. So very specific, understandable KPIs.
Okay.
Any thoughts over here? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Go
please.
ahead, ladies first.
I think it's a really hard question. I'm not sure why people choose me, to be honest. I hope if you ask entrepreneurs, I'm sure they'll say tough love. This comes up a lot. I hope they'll say empathy. I think being an entrepreneur is really, really hard. I think the opportunity cost is really high. Like, you're dedicated and building your entire life around this company for years, trying to make it work, and it's never smooth sailing. There are always ups and downs. So I hope, hopefully not totally panicking and trying to understand where they're coming from when things are not going well. But that's what I hope.
I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah, I'd say probably.
Is it your beard? Is that what it's?
Yeah, so the beard advice comes up a lot when
And
I
the
ask,
French
when I ask
accent.
feedback, and French accent. Those are the my two selling points.
French accent definitely helps.
But I'm covering France, so actually it does help. But no, I think it's fairly similar to Luciana. I think the way I interact with my founders, it's at least a weekly call, and on which we kind of usually dig a bit deeper on one topic, which is either hiring or product or international expansion or fundraising. Usually are kind of the 4 things we are most helpful with. And then it's also kind of direct access on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, whatnot, and that's the new way obviously business is being conducted. And so there's kind of a daily or hourly contact if needs be. Typically when there is a fundraising situation or M&A situation, that's not a situation where I've been helpful. I had two exit this year. On which I come from an M&A background, and so I kind of helped first-time entrepreneurs in both cases. One which was intermediated, the other one that wasn't, and in which I ended up playing a little bit of the, I didn't do the full role of a bank, but I kind of helped a little bit on that. So I think on those ones, I think that was kind of practical value add, I hope.
And you just said the key word there, so I want to press back really quick for anybody to answer this very quickly, value add. What does value add mean to the entrepreneurs sitting in the room? Anybody, really quick.
So I actually outlined the numbers. There's 99.1, so 90% of investors detract value, 9% are neutral, 1% are actually adding value. And it's so hard to find the 1%, you might as well try to find the 9. But anything other than that so let's assume that's a good baseline. then I think follow-on funding is super important. 89% of the B rounds in our portfolio came through our introductions. And companies die of one reason only: they run out of money. So in my mind, much of that is the trust by proxy that B round investors will say, oh, if they invested, I'll verify it, I'll do my due diligence. But there must be something in it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? We good on that one? Go ahead.
So I thought about this quite a bit. The reality is, if you think about it, you know what? I think Facebook would have been Facebook without Accel, probably. Dropbox would have been Dropbox without Accel. But I think what a good investor does is that it helps the entrepreneur get there a bit faster. And if they get there a little bit faster, I think that's significant value add.
That's a great point, Luciana. Thanks for making it. Our opinion on this at the Kauffman Fellows is that big companies can be built anywhere. The VCs, as you heard on this panel, are we are the service layer, we are the connective tissue, and we believe that big companies are built by having connective tissue to the major population centers around the world. And the VCs help be that connective tissue for entrepreneurs. Okay, quick lightning round, one-word answers. We're going to go just really quick around. International investing, yes or no?
No.
No, fuck no.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Okay, now we'll start on here. Massive company can be built in Madrid, yes or no?
Yes.
I hope so. We have investments here.
I think so, but there needs to be more failure, willingness to fail.
That was like 10 words.
I'm sorry. Willingness to fail.
Not invested by us, but good luck.
Okay, and the last question, Trump, Clinton, or move to Madrid?
Clinton, please.
No comment. We have Netanyahu.
No comment.
No comment.
I'm not voting. So.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, you guys, help us.
All right, please join me in thanking this group.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.